What is going on, everybody? BobbyFi with my man Eric Sheets Haber. Hope you guys are having a great Thursday. Nearly coming up at the weekend, nearly another week of football. We do have the showdown slate coming up a little later. We're going to start off with some baseball for the main slate today. We will be doing, I guess it won't really matter when you watch this, but we'll be doing a live show for the early slate. Sheets, let's talk about the main slate. Why don't you pull up your screen? And by the way, I just want to introduce Sheets' background, thanks to Kenny Hyder. It will be on my background as well. We're just figuring out some things with my computer, but we're trying to update things as we go, guys, and we're improving the site as we're trying to improve it visually as well as content-wise, as usual. So
can you enable screen sharing?
Yeah, that would probably be a good idea, huh? You'd think I would learn after about 1,000 shows with you that we could have done that, but
all right, we're always learning.
Yeah, right. All right, so let's get into the main slate a little bit. It's not the most exciting slate in the world, and I know that the idea is like I could actually feel like I could sell almost any slate, and there's some cool decisions, but it's not my favorite slate.
The cool decision is what drugs they were on at DraftKings when they priced Aaron Nola. I mean,
the guy has like one or two mediocre starts, and all of a sudden they got him down there in the low rate. Honestly, I could say that about every pitcher except for McCullers on this slate. I think these prices are a joke.
Yeah.
I really don't understand it, but okay, so how do we play within it? Well, we have a couple of pretty easy options, I think. Anyway, I don't want to, I guess I'm just doing the overview. We'll go game by game, but there's two guys who stand out crazy on their pricing on this slate. All right, Castillo and against Washington and Corbin.
Well, there's one of them.
Well, do you have it pulled up here? I can't see yours. Let me grab your thing.
Oh, I thought I did. Yeah,
you do. Yeah. Castillo's the one of them. That's right. And I have plenty of interest in Castillo. I was a little worried when everybody was, I didn't stack the Dodgers that day, but Castillo was just absolutely unbelievable in that game against the Dodgers. And he's been, basically great except for the first half of the season. And I think he's a terrific option. Of course, there's always risk with any pitcher, but this seems like about as good a spot as you're going to get, other than maybe you could argue for Nola. They're both in great spots. They're both awesome pitchers. I guess Nola has a little bit of the edge for me over Castillo, but they're both awesome. I love Castillo, and I have Cincinnati as the number 2 hittings team on the slate.
I would be remiss if I didn't mention everybody that it is an earlier lock time than usual.
Yeah.
So if you're seeing this, make sure that hey, it's very nice of DK to kind of to tailor their lock time to when we usually go live. So I really appreciate that. So we usually finish around 6:30 anyway, so we'll be able to probably go right through lock this time.
I'm not 100% sure if I'm around for live, but I'll let you know about that a little bit later.
Okay. Either way, I'll be there for that.
Awesome.
So I have Cincinnati as one of my top 2 or 3 stacks as well. And I currently have, as we talk about it, it's a small enough slate. I currently have Castillo behind Nola, but
does it matter though?
Yeah, I think it does. Okay. Like if you want to play McCullers, for example.
Well, that's the way it matters. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that I think they're both going to be really highly owned. I think that Nola is going to be higher owned, but I do think that they're both going to be highly owned, and I just can't. There's just no other good option, honestly. I'm kind of I don't say there's no good option, but there's really no competitive option. The only thing I would say is that if you wanted to get to Toronto hitting or something like that, then you could still play them both. It's ridiculous, So I think that Castillo and Nola, as we get to the Nola game, are both the top ones. The only thing that could make it interesting is if that Philly rain cloud over the avatar means anything for that game, I suppose. But I agree. Cincinnati top 2 or 3 stack, and for me, and Castillo one of the top 2 pitchers.
Yeah, you're looking for Suarez, Castellanos in this matchup. Aquino's cheap. I don't even mind to shoot. Corbin has been. He's going to have a good outing every now and then that makes you sort of like flash back, which is what these old pitchers who sort of have lost it do. But Corbin is just way spent, man. And I know he had a couple good outings somewhat recently, The guy's been basically hit harder than every pitcher in baseball, and you can run on them. I think Cincinnati's, I said second stack. I don't know where I got the other one from, but Cincinnati's my number one stack tonight.
Aquino is completely a joke at 2,500.
Yeah. So go ahead. So she'd talk about, take us into Philly and Pittsburgh.
Let me just add a couple of guys here. I mean, you brought them up anyway, but Castellanos, Suarez, Stevenson, India.
Maybe you get low ownership on Farmer.
Okay, that's interesting.
That's what I would do if I lost, try to get a little bit less owned. Maybe Farmer into Shields.
What's your look on this weather here? Anything in Philly?
I didn't look.
Okay. I literally just see a rain.
I look at weather from an overall, like we have a big slate. If we have a small slate, I sometimes tend to wait to look, but maybe I should have looked at it. But it does look like it's maybe a little bit iffy. But I'm going to bet this game ends up okay as the early bet, but that's where I'm at.
All right. So with that game, I mean, I have Nola as my top pitcher, me and the rest of the field. And as far as the hitting goes, not really getting to Philly. Although I thought I would, but I'm just not. Is there something like decent about this pitching?
No.
This Pittsburgh pitcher that's making that happen, or I'm just just missing it. So I currently, the way I have it straight rate, I really don't have Philly as a top option at all. But I do have Nola as obviously the best pitching option.
No, this is a good bullpen game for the Pirates, which is totally on a 5-game slate playable. It's honestly just that the Phillies have been terrible. Okay.
I
mean, that's really it. They couldn't score against Baltimore any which way, and yeah, I if they weren't going to be owned here, I would jump all over it. Maybe you could play Didi at low ownership. I kind of like that a little bit. I just don't think I think you're going to see a really, really massive chalk on a team that hasn't been able to score any runs in a small slate. So I'm going to try and pivot off of the massive chalk. I think there'll be more.
Funny. We had a lot of sports to get through today, and I was emailing, texting Bobby earlier. Say, dude, we got to do this, we got to do this, we got to do that.
Take long.
Bobby's like, don't worry about it. Each of these slates is like 15 minutes. I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? And I think that might be overstating it. You're right. This is pretty straightforward, it seems.
Yeah.
All right, so yeah, we're on the same page there. You want to move on?
Yeah, I actually think that if you wanted to get really weird with your pitching here, you could take a shot with Glenn Otto. I think that he has you don't need to do it. That's the only problem. You really don't. But if he was 57 and the other guys were 95 and 99 like they should be, I could argue stronger for him. But Baltimore's strikeout rate, he's had 2 tough matchups that got hit pretty hard in Houston and Oakland, but don't look at that as how many innings he'll pitch. He did throw 5 in his first outing. I don't expect him to go much longer than 5. Against Baltimore, that could be plenty for a guy they've never seen before. I'm probably not going to do it, but I just thought I would throw it out there. I kind of like the Texas stack tonight. Now, hear me out on this one. You get Peters in the middle of the lineup, who's done some damage against lefties this year. Solak is cheap enough. We have no Willie Calhoun projected in the lineup, but he's still a switch hitter as far as I know, and I don't know why you wouldn't be playing him. And then you get guys like Garcia. I think Texas might be the team to get a little bit off the board with. And it's weird to say that because basically everybody who plays Baltimore is never off the board. And now we get a chance to play a low-owned team against Baltimore. They're not the most exciting team in the world, but I mean, come on, it's baseball with a good matchup. Why aren't we going ahead and they're cheap too? So they can fit in with Cincinnati spend ups and Toronto spend ups and whatever you want to do. So I'm a big fan of Texas as my complimentary stack today.
Yeah, in my rankings, I do have Texas as ranked 4th. So I think that they're definitely an option. Isaiah Kiner Falefa, DJ Peters, Nick Solak, Adolis Garcia, and I also have a Charlie Culberson as somebody to consider in there. And again, like you would sometimes say, maybe not a full 5-man. I just got to pause this for just a second.
Sorry. Okay. Yeah. Hello. I think we were just talking about Texas.
Yes. So I was going to add Charlie Culberson to the list of players. And I definitely, again, Texas is going to be the same conversation as always. I mean, they're going to look good. Do we need them? Maybe you do. I mean, like you said, I mean, like you need some hitting team aside from the chalk, right? So yeah. So yeah, I mean, and I think Baltimore is going to be the value team that everybody plays. So, so
But
I
also
think
like
that's,
Adolis Garcia, I know he's 4.6, but like he's like, it's not like this is like a fake Major League Baseball player. Like this guy is going to be a perennial all-star. Like it's not like we have to play terrible bats. Solak is decent and Peters has power upside. Like, you know, and then you've got the cheap other options. You can make a 3 or 4 man stack and feel pretty good about it at a really nothing cost. And you do need to get off the board today. So I kind of think that's interesting. I think everybody's going to go on the other side and play Baltimore because the names are more familiar. And it happened earlier. I mean, I've won some big, you know, those tournaments that I should have won. It's really, I don't want to get into it, but the ones that I felt like I could have won, those were Texas combo stacks because I was playing the value from Texas. Nobody was and getting away with it. And just because no one does. I do think that Baltimore is completely just as much in play and from a price standpoint, they're kind of begging you to play them because they just made everybody the minimum cost basically, except for Mullins, and then Hayes and Mancini barely cost anything. So I mean, Baltimore makes sense, but they're going to be really popular. And why wouldn't we just play the other side of that?
I know. I agree with you.
So that's where I'm at. And yeah, Baltimore does have a more potent offense, but still, you're talking about very small measurements over the grand scheme, and we're trying to win one day. I'll tell you what, there's a time where I used to take shots on Pineda at 5.8K. This is not going to be one of those times. I think that what you do here is I'm completely fine if you want to stack Toronto with Texas, one of those other teams. They're going to be really popular. This team just eats up right-handed pitching, oddly enough, more than lefty-handed pitching. And you've got Corey Dickerson at no cost, that costs nothing. It's really a whatever you want to do kind of a day. I love Toronto. What I probably will do is pick out a couple of my favorite home run bats, which would probably be Guerrero and Simeon. Maybe I'll throw Bichette in there. But I think that I want to not go for the full stack and play a mini stack just because I do think they end up really chalky when people realize how much money they have to spend.
I agree. I did not get, again, Matz, Pineda, again, I don't think you need them on the slate. I don't know. No, I guess not. And with respect to the hitting, yeah, I mean, I think that I think you can get to Toronto, but they are going to be pretty popular once you figure it out. I think you really hit the nail right on the head there. So maybe, like you said, maybe don't do that. Maybe don't play Toronto in a full stack. Maybe just play 1 or 2 of those guys or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
What about like Minnesota at all? No, not really.
I think they're actually going to get some ownership. Donaldson and Buxton especially, Garver as well. I don't mind any of those bats. I think that Rookers are good value, but I would rather take shots with the low owned stuff that I was talking about.
Okay.
Nats is a pretty good pitcher, like, you know. All right, McCullers and Alex Cobb. You know, I think it's interesting. You do have the lower run total here for Houston today. It's interesting to see how their lineup shakes out. Wild card play would be Alex Cobb today. That's your wild card pitching play, I guess, along with the other one I mentioned for Texas. I think that I could get behind a little bit of that on a large field, but not for what I'm going to be playing today because the tournaments are smaller. And I am not going to be all over Houston today. Call it whatever you will. Just not going to be the way I'm building. How about you, Sheets?
Yeah, McCullers. I like McCullers here. I do. I think that between him and Castillo and Nola, those are the dudes. And no, I don't think McCullers is going to be particularly low owned because of his price. I think they're all going to just
they're going to overplay him because of his price. Because in reality, he's not as good a pitcher as either Castillo or Nola at this point of the season. He's not as high of an upside guy. Let me just look at the last time he put up 30. He tends to struggle through innings. He's pitching in the American League. All of these things work against him. Now he does get the Angels.
Yeah, that's what
but the Angels have a higher run total, you know, by a significant amount over Washington and Pittsburgh. Like, you know what I mean? So it feels like people are forcing to play him in because they have extra money. That's what it feels like is going to happen.
Okay.
I don't see him as better than the other options. Now you could argue that Castillo struggles sometimes. That's a tough stadium to pitch in. So maybe you could play McCullers, but I just think that I don't see him as being a better option. I actually don't think that Does he even grade
Well,
out?
you know what you could do, by the way, on slates like this. I mean, these are kind of fun builds too, is to just build your lineup and then if you have the extra 1,200 or 1,600 to go up from Castillo or Noah and McCullers, just don't use it and just leave that 1,500, 1,600 on the table.
That sounds right to me. All right. All right, guys. All right. So to sum it up, I like the Cincy, Texas, and I will be sneaking in some Toronto bats. I think Nola, Castillo stand out the most for me. And I think McCullers is the other guy I will use with maybe if I play out some large field stuff, Alex Cobb and Glenn Otto at like 5 or 10% or something like that. Sheets, anything else?
Yeah, I wish I could be a little more different, but I just can't. I mean, I like yeah, you know what? I'm gonna say the same thing. Again, I'm gonna stick to my fancy play syndrome trend. And I will say that if I had to do a pairing right now, I would play Nola with Otto. That would be that would be what I would try to do.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, that's what I would try to do. Just because there's got to be a big drop off in ownership somewhere, right? And I just feel as though Nola, Castillo, and like my current ownership projections, and I think this is actually accurate. I think that Nola, Castillo, and McCullers, I have them all at 50%. Now you could argue that Nola or Castillo will be higher than McCullers by a little bit and whatever it is. But I do think that that's where all of it's going to go. And I just think it's going to be a huge drop off. And Otto is honestly my next rated guy. So I would, just in the name of for no other reason than to be different. Actually, I shouldn't even say that because I bet you that Baltimore gets a little bit of ownership, like you were saying. So you get a little bit of leverage against that also. So if I was going to do something, and that's probably what I'm going to end up doing. And
I like it.
And that's going to be my idea. Is one of those pitchers with Otto, and right now it would be Nola with Otto. But I think Otto is the one that it's going to make the handbill part of the slate run for me.
I like it. I'm going to try to play my Toronto guy or guys, outside of the stack, and I'm going to try and play Texas. I think that's the best thing I can do to try and get different and play the weird parts of Cincinnati. All right, guys.
All right, we're gonna come back with a showdown slate, and if you didn't like unfadable chalk and in this baseball slate, wait till you hear about how we're not going to fade Christian McCaffrey.
All right. Good luck, everybody.